Factoring is the reverse of multiplication, and we want to start our work with factoring by factoring out the greatest common factor. So I've written here, factor out the greatest common factor, and my first polynomial is 6a plus 9. So what I notice is that 3 divides this term and 3 divides this term. I can write the first term as 3 times 2a, and I can write the second term as 3 times 3. So there I have a 3 common to each term. By the distributive property, I can write that outside, and then what's left when I factor it from each term inside parentheses like this. So this is factoring. I've taken an addition problem and rewritten it as a multiplication problem. I can check this by multiplying 3 times 2a, that will give me 6a, and then 3 times 3, that will give me 9. I don't ever need to make a mistake with this factoring because I can always multiply my results and see if I get what I started with. 15x squared minus, 15x cubed minus 25x squared plus 30x. I want to see the greatest common factor for each of these 3 terms. It's the largest monomial I can find that divides each of the 3 terms. Well, 15, 25, and 30 are all divisible by 5. That's the largest number I can get that divides all 3 of those. And then x cubed, x squared, and x, the highest power of x that divides all of those is just x. So I want to factor that outside and then rewrite inside here what's left when I factor 5x from each of these terms. So I'm going to have 3 terms in here that when I multiply 5x times each of them, I get these 3 terms here. So 5x times what will give me 15x cubed? The answer is 3x squared. 5x times what will give me 25x squared? The answer is 5x. And 5x times what will give me 30x? And the answer is 6. So 15x cubed minus 25x squared plus 30x factors into 5x times the quantity 3x squared minus 5x plus 6. Later we'll see if there's a way to factor this trinomial that remains here a little further, but for right now all we want to do is take out the greatest common factor. Second method of factoring is factoring by grouping. Here's our next problem. Let's factor by grouping xy plus 5x plus 3y plus 15. Well, none of these 4 terms have any factor in common other than just 1. So what I'm going to do is just group the first 2 terms together and factor what I can from those 2. I see that x is common to each term. I factor it outside, and what's left is y plus 5. Plus, I group these 2 terms together, and I see they have a 3 in common, so I factor it out and write down what's left when I factor 3 from each of these terms. When I factor 3 from 3y, what's left is y. Factor 3 from 15, what's left is 5. Now I see I have a y plus 5 and a y plus 5 common to this term and this term. So I'm going to take that common factor and write it outside, and then write down what's left when I factor y plus 5 from this term. What's left is x, plus when I factor y plus 5 from this term, what's left is 3. So y plus 5 times x plus 3 should give me xy plus 5x plus 3y plus 15. And if you multiply this out, you'll see you, in fact, get that. What this is good for is changing addition into multiplication. For problem number 4, we want to do another factoring by grouping. If you rewind the tape back, you'll find out that this was an a before. I tried this problem already, and it doesn't work with an a there, so I miscopied it. In any case, let's group these 2 together. There's an a common to each term. I factor it outside, and what's left is b plus 7. Now, I want to factor something from these 2 terms, and what I want to end up here with is a b plus 7. Since that's the case, I'm going to factor negative 3 from each term. When I factor negative 3 from this term, what's left is b. When I factor negative 3 from this term, what's left is 7. Now I have b plus 7 common to each term. I write it out in front. And then I write down what's left when I factor b plus 7 from this term. What's left is a. There's my subtraction sign. And when I factor b plus 7 from this term, what's left is 3. So if you multiply b plus 7 times a minus 3, you'll see what you get is exactly this polynomial right here with 4 terms. So here we have factoring out the greatest common factor and also factoring by grouping.